Beautiful. And we're back. Episode 2 of the Process Podcast. My name is Dylan.
And I'm Zach.
And today we're actually having a conversation just before we started recording about folder structure. And because after finishing recording the first episode, we were like, okay, we'll upload this to Google Drive, and because we're working off 2 separate laptops. So we're going to put everything on a shared Google Drive that we have so that we could eventually edit the audio together, because we're on 2 separate laptops, 2 separate microphones, and bring everything in. And then that basically sparked the whole conversation of folder structure and how in the past we've worked for people who are very stringent and very methodical with folder structure and file namings, because especially in design, it gets really wacky really quick. You get up to like the final _17_final .psd file, and you're like, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
Because especially for thesis, for CAD models for thesis, it got ridiculous.
Yeah, when we had 100 or so parts, more maybe.
How many parts did your thesis have in the end?
Actually, mine was, I don't know, with the exterior. The interior is the biggest part. I think it was upwards of 100 almost.
Yeah, I think I
80,
finished
90
with
something.
Yeah, I think I had maybe 100,
80.
134.
Yeah.
At the end of it, but it always starts off really clean. I'm like, yeah, this is how I'm going to follow it, and then it always just stops.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm done with this. I'm too lazy, which is strange because it doesn't take very much time. It takes maybe 10 or 15 seconds more just to write the proper name or proper folder structure that you have. But that's just laziness.
Yeah, when you're stressed out and you have to finish something that you're just so fed up with.
Yeah, you're like, I'm just going to press the A key a couple dozen times on the keyboard, and that's going to be it. It's like A.
But then, of course, you go back looking for that file, and you're like, where's
this thing? I did that. I lost my original thesis banner file because I just named it something stupid, and I went back to try and look for it. I couldn't find it until after we had finished school and after we graduated. And I was like, oh.
See, the problem with mine was like I started clean. I started being organized. And then when I changed the design of it, I went from like Mark 1 to Mark 2, trying to sound cool.
Yeah. That's the name of your thesis.
Yeah, Mark 1, Mark 2. But then the problem is once I get to Mark 2, then I had like Mark 2 part 1, and then you get to Mark 3, and next you know you have a file name that's super long because you keep on changing it up.
Yeah, it gets really messy.
So
yeah,
it's a little struggle.
I've done a little bit of like freelance graphic design stuff since graduating and being in like the whole COVID-19 pandemic thing. And I have my folder structure is like the name of the client or the name of the project in all caps. And that's like the main folder. And then inside of that, I do 00 _ reference or like client assets.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll do 01 research, and then 01 or 02 concept A, 02 concept B, or 03 concept B, and then go down so that I can always basically like sort it chronologically based off of the 0001, 02, 03, all the way down. And inside each of those, I'll do whatever the corresponding master folder is. So if it's like 01 research, I'll do 01 _ whatever the research is about, and then another one of 01 research, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And it's not perfect, but that's what I've done. Works. And that's what works for me. But building off of the episode from the other day, where we kind of talked about our first day of school, first day of design school, being cool kids, and just how different it was and how strange the whole experience was in general. Today we kind of wanted to talk about, or at least I wanted to talk a little bit about the initial thoughts of the industrial design program that we were both enrolled in and both participated in. Because I remember in the first 6 to 7 weeks, like right up until Thanksgiving. I was very uncertain about if I wanted to continue after the first semester, because I knew I would, even if I didn't enjoy it, I would finish the first semester just to see and see where that goes from there. But like around Thanksgiving, I was like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure.
I had that same feeling. Absolutely same feeling.
Like,
yeah,
strange in a way, because it's the thing that we've wanted to do for a long time. Like you're finally in design school, and then it's not exactly what you think. It's not exactly what you wanted it to be, because you see all like there's videos online of the Humber College Industrial Design program, like, and they talk to students, talk to profs, and show projects and whatnot. You're like, yeah, no, that's what I want to do. But then you get there and it's different. And it was tough for me mentally, because I was like, oh, I had this thing that I really liked, but now I don't. You know, I don't know if you had the same thing, or like what was your experience with that?
Exact same feeling. I, again, going to thinking is that I know this is what I want to do.
Yeah,
this is it. It's perfect.
You're confident in it.
I'm confident in it. And then, first week or two of, marks and just experiences of thinking, these marks come back are not great. Maybe, I realize I'm not good as good as I thought. And then I think, around Thanksgiving, or around, halfway to about the second half of first semester, I think when it really hit me was like our model making class.
Yeah, same.
Because that was, I think, after the first few weeks, we got a little used to the other classes and how the teachers would mark. But something about model making, I mean, the teachers are very, very strict and very harsh markers, which, to their point, is probably fair. How it should be.
Yeah, it should. It should be. And looking back on it, I think that profs in other classes could be more strict with how they were marking. Yeah. Because with the model making professors and instructors, the critical marking and the anal marking made us, hopefully for most of us anyways, made us perform better, because we didn't want to get stuck with a 50 or a 60.
Absolutely. I think that important. Now we both, and not just us, I'm sure pretty much everyone went through the same experience of, is this what I want to do? Like, am I sure? Because I think it was important that we went through that.
You have to.
Because like we saw the first week, we lost, probably almost 10. Yeah. 5, 6, 7 people dropped out in the first week. And the first semester, there's a few more than that as well. Yeah. So we already saw people go through that process of, this isn't for me. Yeah. Like this is not what I thought. Just like, fair point. If not for you, get out of it. And I think some of the teachers said that to us. They're like, to leave. If this is not what you want to do, don't waste your time. Maybe finish semester, but just don't come back. And there's nothing wrong with that if it's not what you thought it was.
Absolutely.
But I think I realized, thankfully, I got to the point where I was like, it's not me, questioning whether or not this is what I want to do. It's more of like, can I handle it?
Interesting.
Right? I think obviously at first I did questions like, is this what I want to do? Like, I thought going into it, this is going to be everything I always wanted in a program and something to learn. But I knew each class, I loved the topics we're learning, like learning to draw, learning about, kind of the philosophy of design and stuff like that, and how to make models. I was like, I know deep down this is what I want to do, and I enjoy it. And I think just important for me, I realized, okay, me thinking about dropping out isn't because this isn't for me, but it's like I'm not handling it very well. Like I'm not doing as well as I thought, and I should. I had to hit that point, that rock bottom. Yeah, realizing this isn't the program. This is just me. Letting the program kind of beat me down a little bit,
which is tough. Which is tough to get out of, because that's a tough mental space.
It's a tough mental space, right? For sure.
You're like, the idea of having to wake up and go to a class that you're not going to do well in, even though you may be talented, whatever they're doing that day, if you haven't learned it yet, and then that reflects back on you, you're like, well, if I haven't learned it yet, like maybe I am not cut out for this. And then it just, it gets you down, and it gets in it. It hits you fast and it hits you hard.
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of people, dropped out pretty quickly, because they went through that and they came out at thinking, no, this isn't for me. This isn't what I want to do. I don't want to put myself through this. And I told myself, no, I mean, I had, friends and family that kind of helped remind me, like, no, I'm pretty sure this is what you want to do.
Yeah.
Like, the way you talk about it, it's pretty obvious this is what you want to do. You're just not putting everything into it. You're letting it kind of beat you up a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially my parents, they knew, like, they know, obviously they've seen me from a whole life.
Yeah.
Thinking, this is, they knew as much as I did, this is what I wanted to do. It's just, I wasn't mentally kind of taking it very well.
Interesting.
Probably, getting used to the amount of work, the stress, obviously the marks coming back didn't help, project for project, thinking, some of them I was like, average.
Yeah.
And then others were like low, and you're like, oh, man, I'm like,
this sucks.
I'm going from, mid, average to higher, or to the top of the class, to now being, lucky to be in the average.
Yeah.
And it's like,
you're lucky to be identified in the middle.
Yeah, and I want to, I maybe it has an excuse of like, oh, this just isn't for me. This is just the progress. And then realizing, no, this is what I want to do. It's just I'm not doing it very well. It's on me instead. Which I think was important. And when I hit that, I was like, I'm gonna, if this is what I really want, I'll put everything into it.
Yeah.
I will actually change. And
when was that for you? When was that turning point?
I think that was, probably close to the end of the first semester.
Yeah.
Like, I think around the same time as you, when you start thinking about, is this what we want to do? And then I was like, my parents were like, this is really not what you want to do. Just hang on in there, finish the semester.
Yeah.
Come home for Christmas break, think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you really don't want to, don't go back.
Yeah.
Because then it's a waste of money and a waste of time, whatever.
And we had a month off.
We had a month
off.
Christmas
too.
So, I'm thinking and realizing, like, the stress, I'm like kind of missing it. I'm like kind of missing in the shop, being in the shop.
You miss the pain.
Missing the stress. And I realized, well, the stress isn't, isn't showing me that this isn't for me. It's more like, no, like I kind of like it.
Yeah.
This is kind of where I should be. I just got to try harder. And I came back, I was like, no, I'm going to stick with it. Because I know at the end, I'm like, this is what I want to do. Right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you probably had the same idea of like, this is, you got to the point where like, this is what I want to do. I just got to be better.
You need to find a way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was tough. And I think especially for us coming out of high school and then moving away from home too for the first time. Like when I moved into res, it was the first time I'd been away from my family anything longer than say 3 weeks. Right.
Yeah, me too.
And it was strange to deal with mentally because I'm like, oh, it's just so much new stuff all at once. And it's just punching you in the face, it feels like. And then you get a crap mark at school. You're like, oh, this sucks. You go home and you have to worry about making your own food. You're like, this sucks. And then like something else, some little inconvenience happens. You're like, this sucks even more. And then it snowballs, right?
Yeah, it starts piling on.
Like I remember going into like starting the first 2-3 weeks, I was pretty determined to prove myself as one of, if not the best in the class. I was determined to try and just bring that from high school, which obviously was never going to work and clearly did not end up being the case. But I was like, I'm going to take that.
I would argue.
I'm going to take that attitude and I'm just going to try and push and just do as best as I can. And it, like, I crumbled. I remember, like, it was definitely not having my priorities in line when I started school. And like in times when I've spoken to my prof, Catherine, who I've gotten close out of the profs that we had at school, I'd say I'd probably gotten closest to Catherine because I worked for her for 2 years in school. But even she would say, like, because she picks up on it because she sees all the students, right? And she's like, no, I saw you and I saw you start to go downhill and I was hoping that you would hang on in there. And I was really scared for a bit. I was like, you notice that, and I barely even noticed that about myself. But it was definitely the priorities not in alignment with what was necessary, because it was like the first time being in this new environment, like having all these people around you, going to parties, like that was fun, right? Like I think I can go out and I can go to parties and do design school at the same time. Like that's a win-win.
This is the win-win. This is the best thing ever.
I can get drunk and I can do design school. Awesome. And I was totally set on just making that my lifestyle. And it turned out to be like self-destructive. It just didn't work because I would end up rushing through the assignments that we had to do so that I could go out. And like my initial thoughts of the program were, oh yeah, this will be easy. I can do stuff in class and I won't have to stay at school to do work unless I've got a big project to do. Like for the first semester of school, I think I barely worked in the school.
Yeah, I never did either.
Never.
Barely.
And I don't know whether it was because I felt intimidated by everybody else that was there and maybe even by upper year students, but I couldn't do it. I think the one time that I had to was I needed to do, it was another project for the 2D design principles class, which was the low poly art. And I didn't have Adobe Illustrator on my laptop, or I did, but my trial had expired and I had to go and I had to work in the library for like a full day and get it done. I think that was one of the only times that I worked at school in the first semester. And I think I thought of design and design school as a lot more independent, as an independent pursuit per se, than it actually is. Because I was like, oh, I do my work, I get better. That's all I need to worry about. Yeah. When I think in reality, it's you do your work, but in you doing your work, you're also helping the 5, 6, 7, 8 other people that are around you.
Yeah.
Like, and that's definitely something that we learned in second year and in third year and then fourth year. Because we didn't have a studio class in our first semester, which they've changed now. So for the kids starting now, who are probably a week into school at this point, they have an industrial design studio in their first semester, which I think is interesting. And I think if we had that, would have definitely been different results for a lot of us.
Yeah, introduce the idea of working more part of a team.
Yeah, like even when you're full collaboration.
Yeah, collaborating even when you're doing an individual project.
Yeah,
you know, even if it's not a group project, being around others while you're working on it,
huge
in class, and
you get feedback. You say, "Does this look good?"
I think it's very interesting, very important.
Because you get so like stuck in your own head, looking at the same piece of paper at the same computer screen. Like, oh my God, like it's almost exhausting. Yeah. And then to just go and get someone else's feedback is huge. But like I had I don't know why I did this to myself, but in my first year and a half of school, I had a laptop bag as opposed to a backpack. And I remember going to Walmart with my ex-girlfriend and buying this thing. It was like it was a Swiss Gear one, and it was $40. I felt really, really intense about it. I was like, this is it. I'm going to put my new laptop in here, put my sketchbooks in here, some markers, and I would put whatever I needed in there, take it to school, do whatever I needed to do there, and I would come back and just work at home.
Yeah.
And I would do what was necessary to get the work done, and then that would be it. I would leave. I would put it away and go off and socialize and do whatever else, which is fine. Socializing is important. But I think it was neglecting a willingness to learn. You know?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
What I mean?
I think one of the big things for me too, that kind of put me into that hole of thinking, oh, this is not for me, was the same thing. By not going in and working with other people at the school, and just spending, late nights alone in my room sketching and working on stuff.
Yeah.
I think I developed the idea of like no one else is having the same issues as me.
Everyone else
is doing fine. No one else is struggling. So it's just me, and I'm thinking, I don't want to be, I've always been the average to upper tier of a class.
Right.
I'm not a genius, but I've always tried my hardest to do well.
You fill out the podium.
Yeah, I've always been a good student in that sense, but now all of a sudden being like, I'm going towards the bottom, like I don't like this.
Yeah, you're
This
starting. You're starting to fall.
Yeah, it's a weird experience, a very uncomfortable experience. And so I think that was one of the big things, forcing myself to work at home on my own.
Yeah.
I developed the idea of like, oh yeah, everyone's fine, everyone's great, but I'm
here, I'm struggling.
Yeah. I'm trying to think when was the egg project? Was that second semester?
Yeah, that was second semester because that was 3D design principles.
I think
that was a mess.
I think after I came back from the Christmas break, and I was like, I'm gonna stick with this.
Yeah, stick it out.
Stick it out. You know, even if I can just get the first year done, that'd be good. Mm-hmm. And I remember getting. Actually, was it the egg or? No, it was the model making project, the toaster. That was second semester too, I think.
No, toaster was first semester. Toaster was right.
Apparently, my memory is
the toaster bisected. That's an intense word.
Bisected.
The toaster bisected the Thanksgiving weekend. We started it the week before Thanksgiving, and it was due the week after because it was like a 4 or 5 day week. We had we had Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, anyways.
Right. I think the toaster. And this is going to make me hate toasters the rest of my life.
I already do hate toasters. I like toast, but I just don't like toasters.
That toaster assignment was like my breaking point, I think.
Really? Wow.
So I guess breaking point was probably a little bit earlier, just before Christmas break now, I guess.
Do you have any wild toaster stories from making that project?
Well, I had the one that had like a mental breakdown in my room.
Really?
Because first of all, like we were saying, neither of us worked at the school. I was working in my room trying to cut and sand a pink foam toaster in my room, in my bedroom.
Absolutely not.
Which, to anyone listening, please do not ever work with pink foam anywhere near your room.
No. Anywhere where you sleep, your clothes.
Yeah, do it in a shop, well-ventilated area, somewhere you can anything other than doing outside in the snow before do that before doing your room. Because I did that. And now, the place I stayed at, I was in the same room for 4 years.
Oh yeah, because it's the same place that I ended up living at.
That you ended up, and like I swear, I still found pink foam by the 4th year. Like it never goes away.
No, doesn't leave.
But I remember doing that.
What was the premise for this toaster project again?
I think it was like we had to bring in a toaster,
like an existing physical toaster.
Bring it in. To like measure everything, and then we had to recreate it in a 1-to-1 scale in pink foam, and I think we could use illustration board too for some of the details. And I think we were allowed to use like other materials,
like foam core and Bristol board
anything
and
we could use to best represent this toaster.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, again, I feel like they didn't really teach us a whole lot of how to make a model out of foam. They taught us the basics. And helped us. But again, probably if I was working at the school, I could have got help.
Yep.
Right. And see what other people would do and ask upper years, whatever. But because I was doing it at home, I'm trying to figure this out on my own of like, okay, how do I like glue this foam together? It's not staying together. I think I made that mistake of like, I'm going to glue together a giant cube of foam and then carve out the whole shape. And then it wasn't working and all this stuff. And I probably remade the toaster. I went through so much foam. I remade the toaster like 4 or 5 times.
Did you actually?
Yeah. And then trying to do all the other classwork. I got all that done. And it was like, you got to the point where it was like the night before.
Yeah. Right? We had 2 or 3 weeks to do this.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And I'm working on it for the first week. Can't do it. I'm like, I'm going to take a break. Working on other stuff. Take a break. Work on other stuff.
Do some sketches.
Every time I went back to making it, I just couldn't do it. For some reason, it's defeating me. And this was during the time where I'm like getting not great marks and everything. So I'm starting to feel really defeated.
Everything's snowballing. The depression is mounting.
Yeah, the depression is building. The rage is building for this toaster. And like the night before, I'm still working on this thing. And I probably end up breaking it or screwing it up for like the 5th or 6th time.
Really?
And I remember just like throwing it at the wall.
Did you?
And like destroying it. I was so angry, and I was about to be in tears. And I remember like calling like my parents or something, being like, I can't do this.
Wow.
I'm not doing this part anymore. Like, I give up. I can't do it. And like my parents always calm me down. We're like, yeah,
Chill
just
out, son.
it's all fine. It's not like the end of the world, whatever. Like it's fine.
It's a toaster made of foam.
And it was tough, but I finally somehow cobbled something together, and then brought it into class, and like basically was like didn't even look like a toaster. Like it was just a block of foam, and I was like, here, just mark it. I'm so done with this.
Yeah, just pass me, please.
And then after that, I'm like, that was when it was like, I'm in my room at like probably 4 a.m. holding this broken foam toaster, thinking to myself,
man.
like, is this worth it?
This
like,
sucks.
Yeah, I'm about to like break something.
Wow,
and
really?
like cry. Like, is this?
It broke
is this
you
for
that
me?
bad?
It broke me, man.
Jeez.
That toast. That's why I have a pure hatred towards toasters.
Wow.
And then after that, it was like, okay, I gotta. Luckily, I didn't think I would come out of it and be like, yeah, I'm gonna keep going. I was almost positive, like I'm done. I am so done.
Yeah.
And I think,
there's always a breaking point, right?
Yeah, with help from family and friends and stuff like that. I'm lucky I came out of it thinking like, I'm just gonna keep the next modeling project. I got this. Like, I'm gonna bring Mark up. I'm just gonna finish it.
That was the paint can carrier,
and luckily
right?
I did. Yeah, the paint can actually did well on.
I did terrible on that.
I think I got like a 13.5 out of 15 or 14 out of 15 on it.
What'd you get on the toaster?
Oh, I'd failed that.
Did you?
Yeah, it was under a 50.
Wow.
Because this was like, I turned up with like probably a block of foam that was still pretty much a cube with like 2 slits in it. And that was it. Like, I had given up. I was like, just mark this. I'm done. I think if it said that to Tony or something, when I handed it in, I was like, just mark it. I'm done.
We were in separate model making blocks, weren't we?
Yeah, because I think the first semester we had it like backwards. We were in the other schedules.
I think I had model making on Wednesday mornings.
See, I think I had it on like, I want to say Friday.
Yeah, because there was 3. I'm pretty sure there was 3 classes.
There was 3. There was 3. I was on the Friday because I always knew it was like, okay, I have like the weekend and the rest of the week.
Yeah.
Until
the next class. It always feels nice. Yeah, I remember doing that project. It didn't break me. But I remember at one point I did mine again, not working at school, because I'm like, I'm going to feel embarrassed if I do something wrong around all these people. Yeah. I'm going to look like an idiot. And I worked in the residence common area, like the floor that I was on, like 40 people. And they have this one main room that has a kitchen and a fridge, and you can all go in and there's like chairs and stuff in there. And a TV where everyone can hang out. But typically after like midnight, no one was in there. And I was not about to start doing it in my room. Yeah. Like you did, like an idiot.
Yeah, you're not that dumb.
And I did it in the lounge and made an absolute mess. I destroyed this place. There was just a thin film of pink foam dust everywhere on everything. Like you could wipe your finger on the couch and it would look like you just ran your finger through like pink sugar.
Yeah, it's impossible to be clean.
Oh, it was foam. Terrible. But I think I must have finished it at probably 4 or 5 in the morning. And a couple of my friends had gone out drinking that night and they came back and were like, you're still up? I'm like,
you're still working on it?
Yeah, still here.
Making a toaster
because that's what I've been told that I have to do. So I'm going to do it. And I got a 6.5 out of 10 on that project. So I was like, all right, forget about it. Move on. And the next project, the paint can carrier, I don't know how, but it sucked from the beginning. I delayed starting. And it was a really simple thing. Like it could hold a 6-pack of beer, and it was just made out of pine.
Yeah.
And we had to use hand tools to build the entire thing. So like chisels,
a hand drill,
which was interesting.
Hand drill.
Yeah, real old timey vibes, and like a gentleman's saw, coping saw, and all this stuff.
Sandpaper.
Yeah, it sucked. Which is strange because now I absolutely love making stuff out of wood. Yeah. Like the desk that we're sitting at, my dad and I made, and it's a beautiful piece of furniture. I can make, if you want a desk like the one that I have, if anyone listening wants a desk like the one that I have, $16.99 in Canadian dollars, and you can have one. But that's not the point. The point is that at the time, it was absolutely terrible. And I remember that the day that it was finally due, I was up like the entire weekend leading up to it, due on a Wednesday, the Saturday, Sunday before, stayed up, just tried to get it done, just tried to finish it when the shop was open, which was another thing because sometimes it just wasn't open. I'm sitting here stressing. I'm like, it's not going to work. And I finally got it done the night before, which was, I think it was right before Halloween, actually. And I woke up late the next day.
Oh,
and
no.
we have that 30% off late policy.
Yeah.
So that any assignment that you have, if you hand in late, 30% is automatically deducted from it. And I think I ended up with like a 25% on that project.
Yeah, in this class it was like, a minute late, not 30%.
Class could start at 8 o'clock. You show up at 8:01 and you're late. You're out.
You failed.
Yeah. And the thing, like this paint can carrier was worth, well, I want to say 20% of the final mark.
Like 15 or 20, something like that, yeah.
And that's a lot.
Yeah.
Especially when the other projects are worth 35 and 40, and you have to do good on those to make up for this terrible job that you've done before.
It's a lot of pressure.
It was a lot of pressure. I'm like, I could not be bothered. I was half tempted to just throw I wasn't even.
Yeah.
I almost didn't show up because I'm. It's gonna be a bad mark anyway.
That was like me and the toaster was like, do I even show up? I was lucky that thing wasn't worth a whole lot. I think that was like.
That was 10% maybe.
10 or less.
Yeah.
It was no more than 10. But then that was my turning point. After that, I was like, I gotta do better. And the paint can, I did that early. I finished that like right away. We started in class. I think I'd cut everything.
What?
By the class, and I think I just worked for like 2 or 3 days straight in the weekend and just got it done. Wow. Right away.
Did you go home and work on it?
No, that one actually stayed at the school.
Did you?
Because again, through the class, because I think we were the only class on the Friday.
Yeah, I think you were.
So I, through the class, cut everything, got that done, and just stayed there and just worked. Sanded it all, fit everything. I just stayed there, grinded like basically that night. And then came back, I think, on the Saturday and then the Sunday, and just finished it and had that done. I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going through that stress again.
Wow. See, I think I started it in class and then got too tired, so I went and got a muffin. Then I came back and I was like, oh, class is over. Time to go back home. And went back home and just did nothing.
Yeah.
It was very, very unproductive. There was, in fact, a time where I was unproductive, surprisingly.
Yeah. But yeah, that was the first semester.
Yeah.
I think it definitely got better after that.
That was some of the low points of the first semester.
I think really the only, for me anyways, the only severely low points were the first semester.
Yeah.
The second semester wasn't the best either.
No, you had a terrible second semester.
The studio, I was about to say that, the studio.
Your second semester sucked.
Our first studio experience.
That was terrible.
Or the first 2 studio experiences for me. So it was like the clock.
Yeah.
Which didn't do well. And then the bus shelter, which definitely didn't go well.
Tough group project.
But other than that, I think the rest of the second semester was
pretty clean.
Was better. I think one of the biggest things for me was the end of the second semester was Odin. One of the things that stuck with me even today. Yeah. The final class with Odin.
Which was 3D design principles. Right? Yeah.
And he gave like a little speech at the end talking to us.
Is this after submitting? We had to make those wooden spoons.
I think it was after spoon. Yeah, it was like the very end of the class. Wow. Before we left the room, before summer break and first year was done.
This is like that cut scene after the credits of a long movie.
Yeah, and he says to us, he's like, this whole speech basically was very like inspiring. Honestly,
yeah,
like
real hype.
Some people I guess could say it was like very, much like him, like kind of artsy and whatever, lots of philosophy in it. But I was like, I don't care. I eat that stuff anyways. Like, I love that.
Feed it to me.
Feed it to me. And he was saying, like, one of the things I'll never forget is him talking about, like, now is the time to fail.
Yes. I remember this.
And, because at that point we were in the same class.
Yes, we were. We did.
And I remember so clearly him saying, like, now is the time to fuck up.
Yep.
He's like, when you go into the real world, you can't, because when you do, the consequences are a lot more severe.
Yeah.
Right. And he's like, it's design school. Now is the time to fail. Mm-hmm. And I think that was like a really nice way of ending off that first rough year.
Yeah. I was like, I failed so many times.
You know, having to basically learn that lesson on my own the tough way.
Yeah.
And even up until that last class, still thinking like, oh, I failed like this and this wasn't good. And like,
Yeah. This I did
don't know,
bad.
man.
Did
Like,
poorly
I'm
here.
still kind of like, at this point, I'm still kind of like, am I gonna come back for a second year? Like, am I gonna,
Yeah. Still not sure.
Still not sure. And then after that, I was like, no, I'm in. I am in. I was like, you know what? That really,
quick, hold
without,
my beer. I'm jumping in.
Without being cheesy, that kind of like changed my life. Changed the course for that was his final speech.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Got to get Odin on just to tell him that.
Just to tell him that. Like, that was big for me. Because I feel like in first year, I felt the most connection to him.
To Odin.
As a prof, yeah. Because I thought he was just cool. And like the way he spoke he was a little more laid back. He never really like got super serious, at least for me. We've seen him a little bit get angry, but like nowhere near compared to some of the other teachers.
He is a laid back guy.
Like not like he's not strict, but he's more laid back. And just the way he is, he's cool, he's friendly. So listening to someone that I already respected and liked say something like that, give a speech like that, talking about, it's okay to fail. You should fail. Now's the time to fail. Like, fail as much as you can.
If you're not failing, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah. Like, in the next 3 years, you're staying, fail. Fail as much as you can. Learn as much as you can.
Because that's the way that you do learn, is by making mistakes, right?
That's the way you learn. That's the best way you learn.
Yeah. Like, even with, like, say with the sketching class, we wouldn't have learned that we're doing something wrong if no one told us.
If I couldn't draw a cube, like, if I could do that right from the start. I mean, I remember, like, again, like Catherine not saying to us, if you're getting like a 98% on this, you shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Like, you should already just go and work.
You should be working. You should have a job already. You should have a
job already if you're this good. Like,
therefore, you will never get a 98% because you're here to learn.
Exactly. Right. So it's like, I think after that, my whole mindset changed, which is important.
Yeah. No, changing the mindset's huge.
Totally fine. Yeah.
Because it was, I do remember that speech now, because now's the time to fuck up thing, that still stuck with me. And I've put that in videos that I've done before.
Yeah.
Like, fail and fail now. Right.
Yeah.
Because looking back, you realize how superficial the first year is in general. Like, it's supposed to get you ingrained into the lifestyle and just the process of school. Yeah. And like, the stuff that you do in first year is never going to end up in your portfolio anyway. No,
and I thought, actually, the only one thing came well out of first year that I really liked was my lamp.
Yeah,
that's the only good thing.
You had a good lamp project.
I still love that.
Would you end up calling it like the Black Panther?
I don't think I ever called it something. Tony said that. Yeah. He said it looked like a sitting cat or something like that. I was like, you know what? That's kind of cool.
That's kind of cool.
I'll take that. Yeah, that was totally intentional. 100%.
That's exactly what I was going for.
Yeah. What was I saying now?
I totally lost that train of thought too. First year, Odin's speech. It's gone off the rails now. I can't remember.
It's gone off the rails. I just totally forgot.
You were
something about like. Oh no, I was saying it was like going through first year, thinking about like, oh, I'm in front of all these new people.
Yeah.
And like, I'm trying to be the best, and I want everyone to think I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to fail in front of one. Especially didn't help in VisCom when it's like, all right, every class, you pin your stuff up sketches. On the wall. Anyone listening who isn't in design or art or anything like that, you can imagine having your work that you spent all week, all night, and like, even though yourself, it's like, oh, this is not the best work, and you have to go pin it up on the wall with your name on it next to everyone else's work, and then everyone stands by the wall, and then you have the teacher go through one by one everyone's sketches, saying what's good, what's not, in front of everyone.
It's like taking a naked picture of yourself, putting it up on the wall, and then showing dozens of strangers.
Because like, as soon as you put your work up, you're like, oh, I know this guy's or this girl's like art.
You start comparing to everybody.
Yeah, you start comparing. You're like, oh, I know this person's good, and you're like, I don't want to put my work up next to theirs.
Yeah.
And then like, them walking through, you're like, oh, I already know what they're gonna say. Like,
Like,
you
oh,
know, when you put it up on the wall.
They said this about this person's, and mine looks even worse than that. I'm about to get reamed.
Yeah, and you know, you're like, oh man, standing back now, looking at it, I can see all these things wrong. Like, and a lot of the profs too are very, let's say, creative in their insults and their feedback sometimes.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, I can't even imagine what they're gonna say.
Yeah.
So I think that as well was like, I didn't want to fail because I don't want to fail in front of everyone.
Which is
a fair point.
Which is that's totally fair.
You know, I think everyone kind of has that fear.
Oh yeah, I'm to this day, I don't want to fail in front of somebody. Like it's
still scary.
It's embarrassing.
Now, but I'm glad I got past that.
Yeah, you need to. And it's like, especially with the whole talking in front of people, like presenting your ideas. Oh my gosh. Right? That's a huge thing. I'd rather not be a public speaker.
That was one thing also that was kind of like, I might drop out because I was like, all these presentations.
Yeah.
Like I'm still like getting better now, not as shy, but like coming from high school, I was like mute. Like,
I didn't speak in high school.
Right? Or I guess like, especially elementary school, I was mute. High school got a bit better towards the end, but you know, I hated presentation as well as most people hate.
Most people hate presentations.
Standing up and
if you don't hate presentations, there's probably something wrong with you.
Yeah, or you're really lucky and you got some
real good genes.
Some good genes where you're okay with talking in front of people. But the amount that we're doing, like every class, you got to now, you know, when you're going through that wall critique, and Catherine says something like, "Oh, you know, why do you do this on your sketch?" And you're like, or what's going on here? And now you have to speak in front of everyone who knows that your sketch is awful.
Yeah, there's something wrong with what you did.
You now have to explain in front of everyone, like how you're so stupid, basically, like how you're that bad.
It's like, ugh.
And you're standing there like, oh my god, my heart's pounding. As soon as the critique's over, you start sweating. I'm gonna go to the bathroom, like dry off, like, you know what I mean?
It's pretty terrifying.
That presentation, but again, that's one thing I'm so glad I learned was not only presenting work, but presenting work, but standing up and talking about it.
Learning to talk about your work is an important thing.
Now I feel like I'm totally fine.
I can get up and talk for talk for 5 hours and not have a problem. Yeah. I have no issue with that, especially to total complete strangers.
Especially when it's a design that you're proud of too, and you got to talk about something that you like.
Oh yeah,
you're like, yeah, I'll go up and go through a PowerPoint showing off my sketches.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sure, I'll do that. Absolutely. Easy.
That reminds me, when did we? It was in third year that we volunteered for the open house.
Yeah,
and
end of third year.
End of third year. It was like first week of April or something like that.
Yeah, when they're doing the tours.
We had this girl and her mom come in, and her mom was an artist. I can't remember their names, but her mom was an artist, like a well-known. Catherine, our prof, knew her. I think I want to say she's an oil painter. Oh, and like I remember looking her up after, and like this chick was legit. Like she's true professional. And she was asking me, because I had a couple sketchbooks on the table that Catherine asked me to bring. And I think I was eating a slice of pizza.
You were.
I was eating a slice of pizza and riffing with her and just talking about design and like the first year experience for, I can't even remember how long. But you asked me to do that in first year.
I'll tell you how long. It was 2 slices long.
It was 2 slices of pizza. So like 20, 25 minutes maybe, because I was being polite and not talking with my mouth full.
Yeah, you finished the first slice, and I remember watching you made conversation, walk over to the box, pick up another slice, walk back, and continue talking while eating a new slice of pizza. I remember that.
But I've only learned to do that because we had all that experience in first year and second year too with wall critiques, and just how important wall critiques are, not just for seeing your work, comparing it to everybody else's, and because that's how you see, like, you gauge the playing field basically, right? Like you see, okay, this person's on a roll, like they've had 2 weeks of like really good looking sketches. What are they doing, and how can I take that? Because I remember doing that in first year, like, oh yeah, I see this person and I see what they're doing, and I really like that. I want to do exactly what they're doing, but do it better.
Yeah.
And
I even remember, I think it was, you were with me in 3D design principles, our PowerPoint presentation.
Oh yeah.
When we had to go look for the buildings.
Yeah, about Uno Pre. Who was,
right? It was you, me, Andrew, and Chris, I think.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Uno Pre. Yeah. Oh my god. And we went downtown Toronto to look at these buildings, and we had to present. It was just photos of like what we thought about the buildings, like how it like the elements and principles that we could see in the design and stuff like that. We were presenting it in front of like the rest of the class, which was like 10 people.
Yeah.
And I remember like being terrified.
Yeah.
You know, like, little things like that.
Really.
And now looking back at it, it's like laughable.
Yeah. I could go up there with no clothes on and do it and be just as fine.
Yeah. Like it's fine. Once you talk about something that you know that you like, easy.
Yeah. And I think that was one of the unintentional learnings of first year of school was you don't anticipate to learn how to talk to people. Like that's not in your course description or anything like that, or presentation skills definitely is not in your course description. It's not even a course that you take. You learn it as you go through and you're forced to talk about your stuff, right?
Yeah. And like you said, that was one of those things you didn't expect to learn. I didn't expect to learn.
No.
Or get comfortable with. I mean, going into it, like I remember, when I finally found the program online and it had like an outline of every class through the 4 years.
Yeah.
I remember going in for the tour and Patrick was going through that whole
Patrick's
like, outline.
Program coordinator.
And going through like, oh my god, like model making. I love that. Sketching.
I love
making
models.
Like 2D and 3D, which is like more art kind of philosophy kind of thing. I like that too. And going through this and then studio and then eventually get into like, third and fourth year, which was the reason why I got in the program, which was the car design side of things. I was like, studio. Oh my god, I love this. So I was like, automatically, I'm like, okay, I'm going to learn how to make models and learn how to sketch better and everything. But then I think those things, I definitely learned and developed those skills. But I would say those aren't the most important things, the lessons. The lessons are the things you didn't expect to learn, like the being okay, being comfortable to fail.
Yep.
To present your work, both like through presentations and talking, but also just through like actually presenting your work like on a page.
Learning how to talk page composition. Huge.
Stuff like that, like taking photos of your work and like presenting it well.
Yeah.
And the value of that, and presenting yourself just in general, like,
which is so important.
Those things that I wouldn't have thought of, and they didn't say in the outline, obviously, because they didn't have a class on how to present yourself in a presentation.
Yeah, there's no course that's like personal development for designers.
No, but I feel like that's just through the stress in the pages upon pages of sketches. That's, you just learn that stuff. Right?
The more full the trash bin is of just crumpled up sketches, that's a good thing.
The more learning that's been going on.
The more learning that's been going on.
Even though it's 3:58 a.m.
Oh yeah.
My garbage bin is overflowing. I've definitely learned how to draw a cube
countless times. I mean, all-nighters are a whole other beast.
Yeah, it's another.
A lot of times stay up late, but then still manage to squeeze a bit of sleep in. Like maybe go to bed at 4 and get up at like 6 or 7. Go to class for 8.
Yeah. Still
sucks.
We got used to it though.
Yeah, that's the thing. You have to get used to it. I remember like in first year wanting to stay up because like, it seems like it's a rite of passage to do an all-nighter.
Yeah.
And don't think I did a single all-nighter in first year. I stayed up late, went to bed at like 5, 6 in the morning, but I still slept. So therefore I'm not going to count it as an all-nighter because I still went to sleep.
Yeah, I think I did. I definitely did a few. And it's like, first you're like, this is kind of cool. This is new. Like,
I can stay up all night and there's no consequences.
This is very cool. Like staying up working on this all night. And then like after the first couple of those, you're like, I want more sleep. Like you're begging for sleep. You're like, okay, this is no longer cool. It's no longer fun.
Yeah. And the semester always starts off and you have no problem getting up at 6:30. Like, I feel fine. 6:30 in the morning. I've got energy. I haven't even gotten out of bed yet. And then 2 weeks later, 6:45, and you're like, just give me an hour more,
please. I feel dead.
I need sleep. Picks up on you fast.
It definitely does.
You have to learn to maintain positive sleeping habits, which
Yeah.
is very difficult to do.
That's another
Actually,
lesson.
very difficult to do.
Another lesson you didn't think you'd learn.
Yeah.
Not only time management, but sleep management.
Yeah, the importance of sleep. That's a whole thing in itself. I could talk for hours on that, on just how debilitating you feel after an all-nighter. And like, we know people that have done like 2 or 3 days in a row, and I have no idea how they do it.
I don't know. I think I've done maybe 2 or close to a full 48 hours, like hitting the 40-hour mark.
Yeah, I think the max I've done is 41 or 42.
Yeah, feeling that is like, you actually feel like death.
It's terrible. Yeah. You almost you feel sick.
Yeah,
like physically
you feel
sick
like
to
you're
your
dying.
stomach.
And I feel like it's important to hit that though once, because then you're like, it makes you work harder because you're like, I don't want to do this ever again.
Nope,
it's not too fun.
I never want to be in that situation ever again. But I think that's a comfortable spot to end off episode 2 of the Process Podcast. Talked a lot about our initial thoughts of the industrial design program. I actually kind of went into more of the low points of what you don't expect going into design school, because you think, oh, this is what I want to do. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fine. But then you actually get into it and you're like, oh, this is not what I expected at all. Yeah,
you start realizing, some of the struggles you're going to have to face to do what you want to do.
Exactly. And if you still want to do that same thing after going through those struggles, odds are you're on the right track. Yeah. Can't speak for everybody, but
you're most likely.
I'd reckon that 9 times out of 10, you're on the right track with that.
Yeah, if you stick with it, you're good.
Words of wisdom, Zach, leaving us with words of wisdom to end off episode 2.
If you stick with it, you're probably good.
You're probably good. Probably, we'll put that in quotation marks. We should do like a quote of the show kind of a thing. Do like a neat little graphic.
First one is, if you stick with it, you're probably good.
Speaking of which, we'll have to set up an Instagram. I want to talk about Instagram too at some point.
That's another whole conversation.
Yeah.
Because that is
because I've got opinions.
Powerful tool.
I've got opinions on Instagram. Opinions that I feel right now. May not feel them in 6 months. But that's for another day. Thanks you for listening. If you've made it this far, thank you very much. You're a real one. If you have any questions about real one. If you have any questions about the Process Podcast, or just questions about design or life in general, send us an email to hi.theprocesspodcast@gmail.com. It'd be nice if we could get the hi@theprocesspodcast.com, but it's taken. So I'm in the process of trying to finagle that.
Yeah.
But hi.theprocesspodcast@gmail.com if you want to send us an email, or if you have feedback or suggestions on stuff that you want to hear about. If we've been through that, then we can talk about
let us know if any of you have gone through similar low points.
Yeah, what's your burnout story?
Had some breakthroughs.
Design
breakthroughs.
Many of those. And that's going to be it for us. Thank you again for listening.
Yeah, thanks.
And we'll catch you in the next one.
See you later.
Catch you guys.